Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Joining us on the line now is Martin Popoff, who's penned more than 100 books on rock music. His latest being Kiss 76, 12 months that defined the hottest band in the land. It's a real nostalgic and unique look at a critical chapter in the band's career. Welcome to the show, Martin.
Yes, thanks, Hannah. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you with us. So what made you look at this particular year then? Why was 1976 so significant for the band?
Well, it was a fresh way to do a Kiss book. I'd done a Kiss at 50 for Quarto as well, and there's been lots and lots of Kiss books out there. And also, 1976 was a big year for me. I was 13, got Destroyer and joined the Kiss Army at that time, but into a lot of different bands as well. And so, yeah, it's just, I was already, obviously I'm an uncommonly massive music fan, and I was probably at that point by 3 or 4 years already, but the first Kiss album is a new release. But it's just a love letter to that year. And it's a book that brings in politics and plane crashes and who won in sports and all the other TV shows, what movies came out, what toys were out, and who Kiss's competition was. So it was almost to put Kiss in perspective in 1976, I suppose.
Yeah, nice. It must have been fun going back historically then and remembering what was happening sports-wise and movie-wise. I mean, Rocky obviously lit up the big screen in 1976.
Yeah, there was Carrie, and I think Midway's in there, and so somebody has to win the Super Bowl, and somebody has to win NHL, and presidents and all that stuff. It was the bicentennial year as well, but I really almost more the narrative I wanted to put forth more so is that there is more going on in the world besides Kiss, and even on the musical end, it was a big year for Frampton Comes Alive was absolutely massive. Aerosmith rocks, the Who and Led Zeppelin are bigger than Kiss is, of course. But for Kiss themselves, it's interesting because they're kind of touring Kiss Alive. So they're touring a live album, which comes out September 75 in the early months of this year. And then Destroyer comes out in March of 76. Then they put out the originals, which is the three original ones in one big package right in the summer. And then they have Rock and Roll Over come out in November. So in essence, they're touring Alive, Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over at some point all in that year. So it's pretty wild year for them.
Yeah. And a lot of people, when they think of the band Kiss, most people will think of the makeup straight away as being something that made them stand out for sure. Where did that all come from, the makeup?
Yeah, this is just to come up with some sort of extra angle. I mean, at this point, we had UK glam happen from, say, 71 to 74, 75. I know these guys were Slade fans, for example, and you hear a little bit of Slade, you hear a little bit of Sweet in their sound, but also a combination of Alice Cooper being a huge thing. Alice Cooper's big years were basically 1970 through to 1973 as a group, and then they broke up and he goes solo. And even still, he gets even bigger and more theatrical with Welcome to My Nightmare. But also Gene Simmons was into comic books, so they wanted to come up with this idea of having, these 4 comic book heroes as well. But yeah, it was a brilliant idea to essentially take the stage show to an absolutely brand new, bigger level, and everybody was talking about it, and it worked.
Yeah, they were unique. It's like when they were one of the first bands, if not the first bands, to turn their performances into a real show, a real spectacle with all the fire and things like that. I mean, people hadn't really done that before.
Yeah, and this amount of makeup, you think of Roy Wood and Wizard, there's all these little bits and pieces of people who tried makeup, but just the unifying, cohering factor of all that black and silver together as well, Gene spitting blood, flames all over the place, and the costumes, of course. I mean, even through this year, through this book, it was interesting learning that how seriously they took the costumes, and then when they first started touring Destroyer, it's like, all the deep Kiss fans are like, but they're still in their Kiss Alive costumes, and they aren't finished yet, getting them all sewn up and all this. So then they go on to the next, and photo shoots becomes really important for them as well. This is the year of the bicentennial photo shoot that was a super important poster, and them posing in front of Big Ben and on top of the Empire State Building, and there's this snow photo shoot that they do. But yeah, this is it really did look good. I mean, as opposed to UK glam, which I think everybody looked ridiculous during that whole thing. And this actually, they pulled it off. It actually did look pretty cool.
Yeah, amazing. And weren't they one of the first bands to really go crazy in terms of merchandise as well? Like going to their concerts, you could pick up the T-shirts and things like that. And they really went for it merch-wise.
Yes, absolutely. This was just tailor-made for that. I mean, eventually we had the comic books, but yeah, they had some of the biggest selling posters, along with Farrah Fawcett, of course. But yeah, they big into all of that stuff, and even the albums. I mean, Kiss Alive came with a little booklet and insert and gatefold. Originals came with a bunch of stuff, and Destroyer with the illustrating was great. I mean, that. Ken Kelly does the Destroyer album cover in 77. He does Love Gun, but just the album covers looked amazing as well. That amazing live shot on the front of Kiss Alive. So yeah, they really did go for it. I mean, everybody, Paul and Gene are entrepreneurial. Their manager, Bill Aucoin, is entrepreneurial. Neil Bogart and Joyce Bogart from Casablanca, they're entrepreneurial. So they're all just looking for some way to make this thing work, and they're taking risks too. I mean, they are spending every penny that comes in. They are not getting rich immediately off of this. They are really rolling the dice to make this work.
I miss buying albums and looking at the sleeve art and going through all the lyrics and things like that you'd get on these albums. It's not the same now, is it? We don't get that.
Yeah, and now as some of us are getting much older, we are really complaining about how small the print is for the lyrics in CDs. And CDs are even old now. I mean, CDs are even an anachronism, I suppose. But yeah, it was great. And yeah, they had the inner sleeves and, little doodads in there, like, 3D glasses eventually. But they had the little Love Gun and posters. When they put out the solo albums in 78, they had posters that interlocked together. So all of that made a big difference. It made the band look high-end, corporate, classy, expensive. When you're a kid at that time, and, this is some band far off distant in New York City, it really made them look big, as did the ads. The ads were really cool for this band as well, because there wasn't a lot of label hype. It's almost like the ads were giving you the message, we're too big for having any label hype. You just need to see the picture of the album cover and one headline, and that's it. This is good. Go get it. The hottest band in the land, sort of thing. Yeah. So yeah, it all worked together, the visuals and the music.
And presumably, a lot with all the makeup and the costumes, they really, really ramped it up, and that was their on-stage personas, I guess. Were they very different off-stage and backstage?
Well, that's interesting. I would say, so there's two things going on in this band. Paul and Gene are the responsible ones, and Ace and Peter are the drinking and drugging and partying ones. And so I suppose Ace and Peter were still bad boys off stage. Paul and Gene just kind of like the relatively sober and conservative ones, keeping an eye on things and keeping things organized. So not so much different on and off stage. I suppose one of the interesting things about them is you quickly, as a kid, did realize their different personalities. One thing that people don't talk enough about with Kiss is the fact that there were 4 interesting voices in the band vocally and 3 great singers. Ace wasn't such a great singer. He was kind of flat and pitchy, but the other 3 guys could all sing great, and all 4 of them had really, really interesting voices. I think, not every great singer or great, super successful rock star in the world has a great voice. A lot of them can sing great, but they don't have a great voice. All of these guys had great voices, which goes along also, the personalities and the voices goes along with sort of this sub-narrative that, some critics would sneer that this was a version of a boy band in a way. And it kind of was, because the music was fairly simple all the time, and it was intentionally that way. They didn't want to make it too tricky. But yeah, I think all of this this built up this idea of you could have conversations with your friends about each guy separately, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and the fact that when you've got fans that are talking about a band, they generally will have their favorite person in the band, and it's normally the person that they can relate to the most, or they think they'd like to go out for a beer with, or whatever it might be.
And that's often like, what instrument are you learning, kind of thing, too.
Yeah. And also in the book, there's a lot of offstage photography. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the best offstage stuff is the fact that this year and 1977 did have these iconic photo shoots where it did make the band look larger than life, really, really professional. And you see them backstage as well as, putting on their makeup and things like that. You see Gene posing with hot cars and things like that. You think back to Dress to Kill, where they're standing on the street in suits. There's so many iconic shoots over the years. Hotter Than Hell, with that sort of really Japanese feel aesthetic that you got on that one. The debut, where they just hit you right away with just the faces in the dark and then alive. So yeah, there's lots of offstage stuff, and then definitely a lot of onstage stuff. When I wrote this book, I wanted those three areas to be kind of equal, like the world news stuff, the what's happening in the music industry, and the Kiss stuff. And then when it was laid out, I was kind of surprised to see that all the Kiss stuff is big. So I almost feel like there's too many Kiss pictures, and the Kiss pictures are too big. I would have almost liked to have seen more pictures of other bands and more of these ads being a little bigger than they are, because I did want to make the point that it really is a love letter to 1976, but from a Kiss-centric point of view. But there's almost more Kiss in it than I would have liked.
Yeah, fair enough. And what about interviews with various people associated with the band?
Yeah, this isn't a particularly interview-centric book. And also, I used a lot of my footage in another book for this actual same publisher when I did Kiss at 50. So there's not a lot in there. There's a fair bit of Ace. There's some Paul. There's some people who have passed on. There's Bill Aucoin, the manager. There is Larry Harris from Casablanca. He's no longer with us as well. There's a producer, Kenny Wise. I think there might be some Bob Ezrin in there as well. So it wasn't really made that way. And what I like about doing a lot of these books for Quarto that have sort of like this is month by month with the 3 different sections per month. So there's like 36 sections. They still give you like a maximum word count. So interview footage eats up a lot of space that I needed for other things, just to pack in all the trivia and the stuff that I wanted to put in. So that's always a challenge of these books is staying under the word count, or at least close to it.
Yeah. Well, for any Kiss fans or people who want a nostalgic look back to 1976, they definitely need to get a copy of the book. It's called Kiss 76, 12 Months That Defined the Hottest Band in the Land. It's available on our website, TRE.radio, and it's by Martin Popoff, who we've been chatting with. Martin, thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Hannah. Very cool.